Hello. Oh my gosh. March. What is beginning, right? Is it any better than February was for you guys? Feels like with the coronavirus and all the race cancellations and happening all over the place, I'm not sure it's much better for that many people. Do not forget that Mercury is in retrograde for another couple days. We're counting on the full moon to bring us big moon energy tomorrow. Cleanse the palate. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit better going forward. Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, did anyone run the LA Marathon this weekend? Were you able to stay 6 feet away from the people next to you? If so, let us know how it went. Let us know what it was like. The articles that we've posted about the engineers who did the math to figure out if that was even like possible with as many runners as the LA Marathon had. LA is one of the marathon. It's not one of the Abbott Marathon majors, but it's a big, serious, very well-established road race and one that I would recommend. So yeah, I don't make light of the situation. It is not an enviable position that the race directors are in. There are no easy answers at a time like this. Only instructions that sound borderline ridiculous. And if we weren't laughing at them, there'd be a whole lot of people crying. Kudos to everyone who trained and went out there. Anyway, coronavirus is a little bit scary. And all the talk around it certainly has been nothing less than disturbing. So onward from that, I would like to take a moment to say a big, huge thank you to all the first responders and healthcare providers, especially ones who are on the front line still doing their jobs, even though they can't get their hands on antibacterial hand soap, toilet paper, or N95 particle masks. That is just horrifying. This is a reminder to everyone that if you are nervous enough to wear one of those masks or could afford one for each of your family members before they sold out everywhere, you probably have the ability to stay home and work from home or work remotely, if not literally from your home location. Please exercise that privilege and leave the mask to the healthcare providers who have the option to stay home, but are electing to do their job and show up instead, providing care to those who need it the most, as well as those who aren't quite sure, but are nervous. So if you have OCD, and all of this talk of antibacterial hand gel and washing your hands more, and the calling out of people in public spaces who do not is more than a little bit triggering for you. If your anxiety is rising in tandem with the price of antibacterial hand gel, I want you to know that I see you and I feel you, and I wish everyone would just leave you alone. Please do think twice. If you're going to shame someone for not washing their hands, you don't really know what that person is going with or through. So you also may have heard that today is a gendered holiday. You may have noticed that it isn't one that we are acknowledging on the corporate level. I did reference it on my personal page. And the reason I do that is because the holiday itself, that it exists, makes me a little bit uncomfortable. We need to celebrate all people every day. And we need to make sure that spaces are inclusive without needing to be told to do so. At the same time, this is a little bit easier said than done, and patting ourselves on the back for upholding a holiday does not excuse what we do the other 364 days out of the year. I also want to talk a little bit about that Facebook post of mine. For years, and I mean years, I've used the term women with an X out of respect to my transgender friends, thinking that the term made space for them in a movement as well as a world that doesn't always remember to do that and doesn't really care. The X was my way of remembering intersectionality and calling out the hypocrisy of the movements that did not want to make space for these individuals. I know all too well how important identity can be, and the strain, the continual demand for societal and familial acceptance can put on a person's mental health. I do. So to me, that X was a reminder that not everyone with a vajayjay identified as female, and not all females were born with a vajayjay. In doing so, I failed to consider the experience of our non-gender conforming and non-binary employees, of which we have more than one. It's a real failure on my part, and I own it, as well as our clients. And I don't really know how many of those we have, because I don't really need to know anything about your gender in order to do my job or to serve you. So I don't ask. There's no such thing as lady running. Physiologically, there just isn't. So our newest hire shared this Instagram story with me, and I want to share it with you because if you have a minute, it is absolutely worth your time. It changed the way I think about a lot of things, and I hope it'll do the same for you. Like race, gender is a construct that has been used to oppress, erase, and deny. I'm not sure that celebrating gender is going to bring us any closer to the equity all of us deserve and truly want. I have no idea how to avoid using gendered language to discuss a gendered holiday, but I know that this holiday, one, it acknowledges where we are, not where we want to go or need to be. And two, there's going to be a great big post-it on my brain going forward when I see that X reminding me that in Xing out this one letter, I'm continuing to overlook individuals that I had probably already been overlooking. Hopefully that as I reconsider the X, I'm looking up and looking around and thinking about the person who I love and around whom I had been centering my thoughts and my experiences and making sure that I'm broadening that definition in a way that makes sense. And let me just to underscore how important that is to me. When I got married 9 years ago, this coming Wednesday, my husband and I, both of us, one thing we have in common is we were both badly, badly bullied as children, really badly so. And we were the kids who weren't invited to the parties. We were the ones who were excluded, and everyone knew it. And the onus was on us to be good sports about it because you can't include everyone. So when we got married, we had just graduated from we just finished graduate school. We could not decide who to bring, who to not bring, how to organize that, the guest list and how to cull it. So we just invited everyone. We dumped our address books out of our Gmail account. It's like 8,000 people total. We got a constant contact email account. I've had this for like 9 years longer, actually, from the nonprofit work I was doing before. And we just invited, if you ever sold me something on eBay, were copied on a chain letter that I happened to receive, you probably actually did receive an invitation to my wedding back in 2011. One of the things that we learned the hard way through that experience is that inviting everyone is not the same as making everyone feel included, welcome, or wanted. It was a real learning curve for us. And it's something it's an experience I've never forgotten. I stand by that decision. I learned a lot from it. Knowing then what I know now, I don't know that I would have done anything differently at the time, but we just didn't have the money to do all the hand engraved invitations and send them out one-to-one, the things that traditionally make people feel wanted or special. But the one thing I would have done differently was absolutely make more of an effort to contact as many people one by one as I possibly could to say, did you receive it? No pressure, just wanted you to know. So to that end, when I created this company, I have gone out of my way to avoid gendered language. And I have brought some non-binary individuals on this trip with me to assist me in doing that, because you don't know what you don't know until that moment when you realize that you don't know something and made a big, big mistake. I would like to thank those people for doing that thankless, terrible job, and encourage. And I'm glad you're still here. I don't deserve you, but everyone here in this space that I've been overlooking, they deserve you. And you make this better every time you stand by my side, even when I do something wrong and stupid. And I appreciate that. And I want you to know I don't take it for granted. And I don't think our clients do either. So if you're new to this, my name is MK Fleming. I'm the founder and owner of the Fitness Protection Program. This is our weekly segment known as Ask Away, where I take all the questions, the burning questions on the hearts and minds of my runners in 3 programs. We have Runner Interrupted. We're going to start with them calling out the weekly wins for our runners not running. Runner Interrupted is a revolutionary support program. It's the support program I would have wanted to keep me connected to a coach during my extended periods of not running for any reason, whether life life has grabbed you by the face and just won't let go, you're recovering from an injury or going through a transition that you never would have asked for, we are here to keep you tethered to guidance as well as a community, no matter how long it takes, no matter what landed you there in the first place. No shame, just compassion and support every step of the way. Then we'll be taking questions from our runners in Rebuild. Rebuild is the program that I would have wanted when I was coming out of a period of interruption that would help me ease back into running. Currently, the things that I could find were the only things that I could find at the time were Catch 5K programs, all of which are geared towards beginners and are predicated on a really ugly assumption that you're lazy and don't have willpower and need accountability to do stuff. And I just don't think any of that is correct, okay, or true. Rebuild is here to help anyone rebuild a firm foundation so that when they go out, they are less likely to be injured. I do not like to think of it as rebuilding a runner's body. It is frequently referred to as that. I like to think of it as shoring up and building that firm foundation that will support running for as long as you want to do it. We will also help you rebuild the habit, because when you think about it, running isn't just one habit, do or don't. There are a whole host of little bitty supporting habits that you have to have in order to make the running habit happen. And Rebuild is here to facilitate all of those little habits and talk about them, keeping the modicum going as we ease you back into wherever you want to go, so that you're not going from an extended period of not running to training for an event hardcore in order to catch back up to the people that you miss, the community that you love, and the coach, hopefully, that you like talking to. And then finally, we'll be taking questions from Maintain. If you've been following our Facebook page or been on Facebook at all, hopefully you've seen the advertisements we've just started rolling. We are giving away the Tenacious AF Marathon Plan for free and encouraging people to try a free month in Maintain. Maintain was designed to keep you race ready all year long. I designed it with the people who do hashtag all the races in mind, because my closest friends here in my run club do, in fact, do all the races. They will do 5 or 6 marathons a year, whether I like it or not. They will do every half that sends them a discount code and a coupon. And I want them to be able to do that without worrying too much, overstressing, overstraining, and getting injured. And we maintain a high base level of fitness year round, not so high that you're crushed under the weight of it, but high enough that no single marathon training cycle can in fact crush you. We only need 10 weeks to ramp up for a marathon distance when we're training and Maintain. And I care so little about the plan itself, because so much emphasis is put on plans anywhere you go, that to all subscribers, you get all of our marathon plans for free. It's not about the plan. It's about the tether to the coach, the community, and the experience. It does not matter which plan you pick. If you pick one that's too difficult or too advanced for you at any given point in time, the plan that's going to burn you out is not going to make you faster. You are, in fact, less likely to see the start line and more likely to sit back and need a program like Runner Interrupted. We have a plan at Fitness Protection. We have a program to get you through every phase of your runner's life, no matter what, at a price point that we hope is widely affordable at $30 a month. To that end, before I go into the winning at life for our runners in Runner Interrupted or Runners Not Running, I'd like to say get well soon, Suzanne. She and her husband are currently down with the virus, and I hate that for you. Thank God it is not the coronavirus. I hope it is one of those fast-moving ones that exits as quickly as it came. Brenda, we are all relieved that your husband is doing better. You've been through a lot. Brenda, you might have noticed she was on our podcast 2 weeks ago talking about how she had not been running lately. And if you are not running in March, let me tell you what you're not missing. Wind. I hate wind so much. I named the workouts in Rebuild this month after wind, to remind you that if you're not out there, all you're missing is effing wind. Not a big deal. This is a great month to not be running if something happens to be in the way. Congratulations to everyone preparing for 3 days at the fair. Oh my gosh, your doubles, if you're doing 100 miles or longer, started this week. I did not forget you guys completely. We got sidetracked with everyone having fevers this morning, and we're too nervous to go into public spaces. So with that in mind, because we don't want to be carriers if our children happen to have coronavirus. We would rather not give it to everyone around us and the vulnerable populations. So we elected to stay home, and that meant, unfortunately, I could not get near my computer for very long, because that's cheating on my children, and they can't handle it. Like, Mom, what are you doing? You're not touching me or talking to me. This is not acceptable. It's like the most jealous boyfriend I've ever had, and I have 4 of them plus a husband at home, and we're going to have all of that fun all week long too. It seems like at the moment, yay. If you are impacted by the coronavirus and are going to be working from home with a whole bunch of people that really don't want to be there, I see you too. Oh my gosh. So, badassery. Before we go into winning at life, I'd like to point out the badassery that I happened to notice across all of the private Facebook groups this week. Katie, congratulations. This is a big one. Katie lost 250 pounds at least overnight. How did she do it? Congratulations for getting rid of all that dead weight while simultaneously freeing up all kinds of space in your calendar and, frankly, in your head too. You're a wonderful person, and I am thrilled to know that there is one less person in your life wasting your time. Put on some pretty earrings. I know you got at least one pair. While you listen to Monday's mantra, I'll be recording it at the end of this broadcast, and I wrote it just for you. I know you're hurting right now, but you are not losing at life. Caitlin Henry Meisler, I ran my 10K this morning. This was yesterday. And despite almost no sleep last night due to an overly excited toddler in mind, I felt really good. Yay! My heart rate monitor fell around my waist in the first half mile, but I ran by feel and tried to pace myself so that I could finish strong. My last 2 miles were the fastest. Met my pace goal, and I just ran a tough half last weekend. Plus, it was a wine 10K, so there were mimosas at the finish. Looks like that extra day in bed this week was a good choice. Yay for you. No one needs to run in the rain, especially in between a half and a 10K. Congratulations, Caitlin. I know you've got to feel terrific. Patricia O'Connell, I ran in a 10K, got second in my age group, and came home to find the CDC recommends that people my age avoid crowds. I washed my hands when I got home. Yay for you, Patricia. Congratulations on second place and for remembering to wash your hands. That's a big one. I would come over here and teach my kids how to do it. I can't get them to do it once. Stacy Clark, to be honest, I'm sort of freelancing the running thing right now. I would say I'm maintaining-ish for the time being while I focus on finding a good balance of all the things I really want to do in the little time I have to do it. Anyway, I ran my long run today of 70 minutes on the treadmill. Congratulations for doing exactly what we want you to do and maintain. It's not about compliance. It's about having a plan that keeps you going, a helpful suggestion of what you could do day in, day out, rather than sitting around, because your average person who gravitates toward distance running is the sort of person who's going to say, what should I do? Give them a range, 3 to 6 miles. I'll do 8. And they're overachievers who will always default to the biggest number, the highest, more, most. And that is a habit that'll get you in trouble. Their only overachieving here is going through the strength circuits and doing them twice. It's listening to the podcast and participating and saying hi to me every once in a while. It is not defaulting to something you may not actually be ready to do. Listening to your body is the most advanced thing you can do. And I like to think that what we do here is offer you incentives as well as step-by-step instruction how to do exactly that. Amy Lucas, congratulations. Her kids are in the state playoffs. I have no idea what sport. Guessing basketball because it's March and there's madness in March, right? I don't know. I don't have kids that old yet, and I'm not asking these questions yet. But either way, state playoffs sounds like a big deal. Congratulations. And she still took her run clothes with her on the road. That's huge. Katie was accepted, different Katie from the one earlier. Katie was accepted into a fellowship program at the University of Arizona in integrative medicine. It's a 2-year program, and she does not have to move, at the end of which she will be board certified in pediatrics as well as integrative medicine. Now, congratulations on that and on the stable SI joint. That is absolutely huge. I don't know anything about the boards, but I know a whole lot about fellowships, not just from watching Grey's Anatomy, but also from Botched. I tell you what, Katie, that is really hard what you did. It is super competitive. I know what people do when they're trying to pass the boards. I remember that episode. OMG. Congratulations to you on getting such a big fellowship. And I'm totally kidding. I know that your real life is nothing like Grey's Anatomy, but a girl can dream when she's at home quarantined with coronavirus, or rather home quarantined with children in a time of coronavirus. So now we're moving on to the weekly wins for our runners not running in Runner Interrupted. Katie, lots of Katies. This is a third Katie, in fact. Katie is done with radiation. Yay! ringing the bell for you over here. I know that you think that your lack of motivation is problematic and you think that because you're physically able to do more than you are that you should. I'd like to remind you, Katie, that it is shaming to live in the should. 28 radiation sessions is a really big deal. You crushed the bejesus out of all the cancer in your body. Cancer that was parasitically eating your body. I tell you what, of course you're tired. You got to recover from all that badassery. I understand how frustrating the ongoing lethargy can be. I understand how frustrating it is to feel like you are trapped in bed when you'd like to be outside running around. But I tell you what, right now you really do need to listen to your body and rest, because you will never not rest anymore, because there are races and things and stuff. And oh my God, so much, and no more cancer in your way. Rest now, because you will not be resting again anytime soon. Congratulations, Katie. Her second win: my work gives everyone their birthday off, but you don't have to use it on your birthday. I'm actually going to take my birthday off this week. Yay, you! I hoard PTO like crazy, and considering I have another surgery this year, I can't believe I'm taking the time, but I just really need a day to myself. Happy birthday, Katie. I hope it is amazing. I hope it is incredible and that you love it to death, even if all you do is stay in bed. Staying in bed can be a really miraculous thing. A whole lot of us would like to do more of that than we get to do. Megan O'Brien rule: moving my body more, being outside more, both of which are important to my mental health. I hear you. I have not been outside today, and I'm getting a little stir crazy myself. The one good thing about daylight savings and everybody being wide awake at 5 a.m. is that I'm hopeful that after this podcast, they will all be asleep, and I can, in fact, finally go for the run I've been wanting to have all day long. Final point. I'm not sure who this one is from. It was submitted through the form. 3 PT sessions completed, and I'm feeling a bit better. I'm enjoying more time with my kids, going out with friends, and reading. That's a win right there. All of those are wins right there. Finding ways to buy the time when you're not doing the thing that you want to do, or when you're enjoying the things that you cannot do or don't have time to do when you're in a hardcore training session. That's always the opportunity that an injury or a break from running will present to us. Congratulations on making a good choice and grabbing it by both hands. Now moving on to the questions in Rebuild, our Rebuild community. Like to start with congratulations to Amy Bell. This is her second month in Rebuild. She's here to work on her consistency. She nailed 3 runs per week last month while in lane 1 of Rebuild, and is looking to make it 4 to 5 this month. I would like to say I am so proud of you. I loved reading that. I loved hearing it. There's a reason I included it here. That's exactly what I want people to do. The tricky part about Rebuild is that so many people come into it, and because they've never had a program like Rebuild before, they go from 0 directly into training plan, feeling like they should be able to execute the first week of any 16-week training plan like right away, and with no regard to how quickly it builds. So I'd like to say congratulations on doing what we ask you to do, which is starting in lane 1, doing arguably less than probably what you think you should be doing, because lane 1 is that is the feedback I've gotten over and over. This isn't enough. This isn't enough. Not from you, but from others. This just isn't enough. I'm like, it's plenty. It's plenty. It's plenty. Ease your way back in slowly. It builds rapidly. Give it all time. Let your body adjust, and you'll be in this game longer. What we want is to build, not break. No setbacks. All money, no whammies. So, hi, coach. I've been doing really well with being more consistent with my runs and getting my strength in, but I'm really struggling with where to fit in longer weekday runs. I'm hoping you might have some creative solutions for how to fit the longer sessions in. I leave for work at 7 a.m., so I'm limited with how much I can do in that time before work. The earliest I'm able to get home is 5 p.m. with bed at 9 p.m. I'm not allowed to leave my work site after lunch, so that is out, and I have a toddler at home to boot. I promise I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm running out of ways to move the puzzle pieces around to get all of the life things done. Any creative ways to get runs in are appreciated. Thank you so much. I tell you, the 2 things that have worked the best for me over time have been a reminder that there's more to life than work-life. When we talk about work-life balance, what we're leaving out is the person who is having to do the balancing themselves. The most creative solution that I can come up with, based off the information that I have right here, would be to make a point of doing a run before you go home. if at all possible. I don't know what your daycare situation is like. And, I'm not here to judge. I understand that that's always a complication. But for me, I know that back when we had very little, I got very creative about bargaining and bartering and finding teenagers that I could tutor and areas that I specialized in exchange for a little bit of babysitting here and there so that I could go for a run unencumbered. My kids had never liked the stroller, much less the jogging stroller. One of my children's on the spectrum, and that just did not work for years. So if I was going to get a run done, I had to make sure that I had childcare covered, and they were absolutely not with me while I did it. So to that end, maybe the answer is doing it before you get home, because God knows when I walk through the door, my kids are like, Mom's here, and they're all about it. And that can make things really difficult. I'm presuming you don't have space in your house for a treadmill. A lot of people, that is the solution. It's too late at night for me to go out. I'm going to do my run before I go to bed, or first thing in the morning, I'm going to go hide and get that done. If we personally don't have space in our house for a treadmill. So if that's your life too, I get it. But the most creative solutions I can come up with would be to either take a run and split it up and really make that time sacrosanct. You do it on your way into work in the morning, and the rest of it right as your workday ends. And think of it as a palate cleanser, like getting into the headspace you need in order to be at work, and then easing out of the stresses of the day before you go home to your family. Because once that is done and you had your time, you're that much more likely to be the parent that you want to be, centered and present, and not waiting for your turn to go or resentful of the time you have not had to yourself yet, because that is a very long, stressful, and demanding day. Unfortunately, I wish I had more answers. It's the best that I can do. Let me know if those suit or if not, and we'll try to troubleshoot around that a little bit as well. Just know this: creating that space for you, whether it's 15 minutes in the morning and 30 in the afternoon, or vice versa, but by breaking it up, that's you advocating for yourself, that's you taking and creating a little space for yourself forcefully. I will always be supportive of that. By doing this, that does not mean that you're a bad employee or a bad mom. It has nothing to do with how much you love or appreciate your family or your children. But if we're not making space for you, that will over time impact your ability or impact their perception of how you feel about them and the situation. Because when you've not had time for yourself, most of us, when we haven't really had time and space for ourselves, we tend to take it out on the people around us because they don't appreciate all that we're sacrificing. You cannot get credit for work that people do not know that you're doing. And if the work that you're demanding credit for is something that doesn't have to be done, maybe we need to stop doing that work. Your kid's a toddler. Not saying that if ever there was a time to go make some space for you, it's now. I don't have teenagers yet, but everybody I know with teenagers assures me that it gets harder and more complicated as they get older, and your presence is that much more necessary. So if there's ever a time to do it now. Andrea says that she's loved divided long runs. Getting more than 45 minutes to myself is just tough many days. I completely hear you. I love them too. I didn't get one today. I haven't had one in a while. And I don't love it. I'm happier when I can get that long run. It's one of the reasons I like marathons. I'm like, oh, it's an excuse to go run long for 2 hours one day and 3 hours the next. Shoot, yeah, I'll take it. Even though I know that's not what most marathoners do. It's what I do. It's what I like. My running has always been my me time, my meditation, my contemplation. It's not a time to beat my body up, but rather a time to let my brain run free. And I'm always looking for ways to get more of that. It is my ultimate form of self-care. And it's one I love to help facilitate for other people. So there are never easy answers. We need to know a little bit more about what each individual, the constraints that person is working with. But some of the biggest limiting factors and the biggest constraints that we are managing are the ones that we made up ourselves in our own heads. And it can be hard to push back against those notions of the sort of parent, employee, and person that we want to be, because the thing that we need to value the most, ourselves and our own sanity, is the thing that tends to fall to the wayside first, not the thing we prioritize most. Okay, another question. I know, Coach, that the 150 heart rate is a cap, not a target. Spoiler alert, yeah, it's a higher cap in rebuild than it is in maintain. Now you know. So I know that the cap it's a cap, not a target, but is there a physiological benefit to the higher heart rate, or is it mainly a psychological compliance issue and falls into the category of this generally won't hurt? It depends. So I've talked extensively in the past about why the 140 cap exists, and that's within all humans fall within one standard deviation of 140. And doing more math is not going to lead to a better outcome. 140 is a pretty good cap. The higher you are above it, the greater the odds are that the run you're doing is not de facto easy. It's not about specific zones. It's about boundaries. Once you're out of bounds, the further you go out of bounds, the further you are effectively off out of wherever it is that you need to be. So with 140, I know that for rebuilders, the reason I made it 150 was that it's really frustrating. It is incredibly frustrating. The fitter you are, the narrower the easier it is to control your heart rate, the narrower that range actually is. Everyone is in shock the first time I ask them to put on a heart rate monitor and go for a jog, much less a hard run, when they see where their heart rate is, and typically when they do what they think of as an easy effort run, and then try to mind the cap. We need t-shirts to say that, mind the cap. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so to that end, is 150 better? It's not going to bring you a better result. It is a psychological component for people who are coming back, whose fitness level has dropped during their time away, and it gives them incentive to stick with the program while they're rebuilding, because again, I do understand how demoralizing all the walking can be over time, as someone who's had more rebuilding years than I care to admit, especially in recent years. The big caveat here, and the thing I have to be conscious of, is that the higher where 140 came from is it's a medical notion. It was one that was given to my dad, and it's one that I've been reminded of lately each time that I've had, I had my nasal surgery, when I had the patch on my gum, and when I had my oophorectomy and tumor removed over the summer. When I was coming back, all of my every medical professional I came into contact with reminded me to try not to run for a while. And we're very clear about that, because what we wanted to do was avoid inflammation. Now, inflammation is a very general, nonspecific catch-all term. But what tends to happen when you're going harder than an easy effort run, the whole idea of staying under 140 is to minimize the chances of inflammation occurring in your body by keeping that effort well and truly easy. If ever you've gone out for a race and finished it and couldn't get your rings off, or felt like your watch was cutting off your circulation, or took a shower, got out and felt like you blew up like a balloon, that's all inflammation that comes from the pounding and the effort and the intensity of a race type of situation. That same feeling is what most people get after each and every run, because they're not discerning between an easy effort run, a training run, and a race effort, much less a 5K effort versus a marathon effort. Okay. So I tell you that to tell you this: the higher you are over 140, the greater the chances are of creating inflammation during the course of that workout. So if you are a person who is already managing an autoimmune or inflammatory disease or condition like IBD, IBS, Crohn's, or even celiac, I am diagnosed with celiac sprue, and I have to be as cognizant of this as everyone else, that inflammation that's my body is going to fight itself, and it's going to make it harder to recover before it will make me stronger. So if you have that going for you, if you're already combating inflammation with a diagnosed medical condition, not because you saw it on Pinterest and now you think you need to worry about it, you really need to forget about the 150 and just mind the 140 cap at all times, because that is more likely to work in your favor for the standpoint of managing inflammation. Everybody else, I'm more worried about the psychological component and your ability and willingness to stick with something and doing more walking than you want to do, or more walking than you think you should be doing at any given point in time. So to keep your head in the game, I'm willing to give a little bit on that cap to keep you present and moving, making good choices in rebuild, rather than rushing somewhere else to get the permission to do all the running that you think you really want to be doing. So them's the breaks, and those are the trade-offs, and that is how I would look at that. Those are all the questions for rebuild. Now we are moving into maintain. Congratulations to Elizabeth for finishing her first week in Maintain. She says she feels like she only has one speed that she can maintain, which is super slow, and she looks forward to that changing. We do too. All we want is for you to feel good and confident and comfortable. And it can take a little while to decouple our feelings about what we're doing from the pace that we see on our Garmin when we're out there, which is why we have the focus on monitoring intensity to really focus on your exertion to keep you here doing this longer. And you'd be surprised how much stamina we build by spending all this time in the aerobic, that true zone 1 aerobic area. And it will change more rapidly than you think it will. The fastest route to faster is through strength. So do make a point to take that seriously if speed is the thing that you are here for. Everybody else, it can't hurt to focus on the strength. Do take it seriously. We have people live streaming it every day in our groups for a reason. Question 1, I finished my second marathon ramp. Oh, sorry, this is a comment. Finished my second marathon ramp 20 miler. It was hard. And now I'm in the self-doubt phase of how in the world will I be able to do 6 more miles? Trying not to think about that too much and focus on enjoying the taper. Any tips? All right, so my biggest tip there is a really hard one. Don't worry about it. The thing to remember is this. I went to a coaching clinic several years ago, and someone who is familiar with my plans called out the question, asking the coach gurus in the room, do we really need 3 20-mile runs in one training cycle for a marathon? And the person leading the seminar took great delight in saying, no, that's absolutely not necessary, never was, never has been. And I agree with that. I always have. That's not why you have 20 milers, because you need them in order to be prepared. In most of the plans that I'd written in the past, there had been one, and Murphy's Law would apply, meaning if every single time, every single runner, something would get in the way of that 20-mile run, and a piece of confidence would be lost really close to race day that we could not get back no matter what we did. Even one 20-mile run is categorically unnecessary. You don't even need one. It's true. So to that end, if you've done 2, you're more prepared than you need to be. You're more prepared than most. My average person on the Tenacious AF plan, the one that we're giving away for free, is about 16, 17 miles tops. And they all finish, and they all feel strong, and they're all fine. It's not about the numbers and the specific distance of the longest run. It's about the consistency of showing up during the training cycle and really how fit you are on day 1 of the training cycle. And that's something I can never convince people of. They're always looking for the magic training plan. They don't want to talk about their current fitness level. Here in Maintain, we don't have to worry about our current fitness level because we're just maintaining that fitness all year long. It's not about perfection. It's not about total 100% compliance. It's about doing more than you would be doing on your own without a coach and a community and a plan to sort of guide you before that 10-week training plan starts. You've got more going for you than you think you do. You are more prepared than you think you are. People smarter than me have said laughingly, and I still have the tapes to prove it, that you don't even need 1, much less 3. No one needs 3 20-mile training runs. So technically you were prepared before you ever had 2. Yay, you. It's going to be fine. So next question. Is there a next start date set for Slow Burn? And is there a way I can preview it? Tentatively April the 1st, but a lot of things changed in the past week or so. So we are reviewing that, and we'll let you know as soon as we know for sure. And yes, once we do, we will gladly let you preview the plan. Email info@fitnessprotection.com, and we can send you a couple of screenshots and give you an idea of the program. Broadly and generally speaking, Slow Burn is more of a time suck, roughly 80 to 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week with a shorter long run. And again, it's a running and strength specialty program that was designed for the off season. And it's more work for a shorter condensed period of time. But we also have shorter runs to make room for the extra time you'll be spending on strength. So I like to think it all kind of works out in the wash, but I also totally understand people wanting to see parts of the plan, and we're happy to share that with you. Hi, Coach. I'm doing a 10-miler in a couple of weeks. I've looked at the plan you posted in Maintain about how to taper for a half, so I think I'm good. with race prep, but I'm not sure about a race plan. I've done quite a few half and full marathons, so I have race strategies for those, but I'm just not as familiar what to do with myself in a 10-mile race. Would I base my pace off my 140 pace? Are there heart rate averages or maximums I should be considering? Any advice for a 10-mile race plan would be appreciated. Thanks so much. Honestly, it's not going to be that different from what you do. The guidance that I would give you for a generic half marathon plan, it would just accelerate to that point faster. So I think I say like after mile 11, go as hard as you want to go. But remember, you still got roughly 20 minutes of running left. In a 10 miler, it's going to be a little bit sooner than that. That would be, don't go all out before the 8-mile point, depending on the course. We would want to sort of hold back. You don't have to start at 140, but you need to sort of have an idea of what 10K pace is. 10K pace, generally speaking, is 2 minutes per mile faster than your 140 pace. The 140 effort is the basis for everything. And again, don't kill yourself on the math. More stress is not going to lead to a better outcome. Roughly, generally speaking, let's say your 140 pace, your easy efforts have been consistently somewhere in the vicinity of 11 minutes and 30 seconds per mile. Then your 10K pace, the fastest pace you could reasonably expect to sustain in a 10K situation, is 9:30. Some will go faster than that. That's why we do the EAT. It's a function of power and critical power, which we are not specifically training to here because you don't really need to. At the same time, betting that you can go that pace or faster for a 10 miler is a big bet, and it's one that is unlikely to work out well for you. So when I think about pacing a race, I'm thinking of it in terms of those big white lines on the side of the road. It's not about being perfect right where you need to be all the times. All you need to do is not get out of the lines, and chances are good you're going to have a good day. So what I would recommend is remember your 140 pace. You're going to be a little bit faster than that. And remember your 10K pace. You don't need to go any faster than that until those last 2 miles, and only then if you feel it. And if you can go much faster than that in those last 2 miles, come back and let's have a conversation and tailor your next race based off of that data. But I would rather you finish this race feeling good, confident, and like, hey, I could have gone faster, and be a little mad at me for that, than to show up, burn out, have to walk part of it, be embarrassed, and be mad at me for that. If you're going to be mad at me, it's because I want it to be because I held you back, and not because you made the same bad choice that you've made on any other training plan with any other coach with whom you've ever worked. We got to do things differently if we want to have different outcomes. So yes, if you have my generic half marathon guidelines, they are on the blog at coachdandlove.com /blog/coaching. That coaching category, a blog post, you will find my generic marathon and half marathon race guidelines. You just need to rewrite them, take a mile out of each section, and you'll roughly be right where you need to be for a 10 miler. Again, it's not about specificity and doing it perfectly. We're not walking a tightrope. We're defining the lines. Stay in the lines, and you're going to have a great race. Go have a great race. And if you are in a place where you feel like you just want to see what your body can do and you don't want to watch the clock, that's cool too. Just remember, 10 miles is a lot longer than you think it is. So for 3 days at the fair training, if we come to a week and find we are in need of a cutback week, what adjustments do you recommend to be made to the weekday and weekend runs in order to come back to the next week ready to progress? 1, cut any doubles that you might be doing. Then 2, let me back up. 1, cut all intensity from your runs. 2, cut the double. That is where I would begin. From there, if you need to cut back even further, let's talk about it, because going 45 minutes a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, should have you raring to go on Saturday. And let's try to make that Saturday 2 hours and then start fresh on Monday. If you need more time off than that, then we need to talk a little bit about maybe your nutrition. Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough sleep? I can't underscore enough how much that stuff matters, because it really, really, really matters. One of the reasons I don't go any further, and nutrition is not a euphemism for like diet or wellness, but rather, are you getting enough of something? Your body is craving more of something. It's craving more fuel. It's craving more stuff to get your muscles moving and feeling good. And it might be craving more recovery. We need to think a little bit about the why and make sure that because it's not everything is going to come down to the training plan. It's going to come down to how well you're taking care of yourself in between runs. That matters a lot too. So that's where I would start with cutbacks. We don't have a whole lot of time to ramp if you're doing the 100 miler, but you've also got to remember too, it kind of doesn't matter. 3 days at the fair is one of the most inclusive, incredible experiences I've ever seen. If at any point you get overheated, you can jump off the course, take a break, and not have to worry about it. Everyone who's going is going to have a different strategy and a different idea of what they need to get out of the day. Very few people are showing up to do one thing continuously without stopping, because why would you do that here? You don't have to. That is what you're required to do absolutely everywhere else. So we can talk a little bit about the race strategy, and we can talk a little bit about what's going on and how you're feeling, and we can tune that up as we go. But when it comes to needing a cutback week, I absolutely want you to take it, and that is exactly how I would go about it. At the worst case scenario, if you're like, I just cannot focus on the strength, I'm not doing the strength, I've got nothing left, hop into Rebuild. If you're not already a member of the Rebuild Facebook page, go ahead and get in there and try to do that strength. That strength is functional and foundational strength. It was designed to activate and engage small but important supporting muscles in your structure, not specific power building exercises. So make sure you're at least doing the strength in Rebuild during your cutback weeks. We can never afford to cut strength out completely, and because we want to run injury free for as long as possible, and we want to show up to that start line ready to stop and start as many times as we can. And that's not going to happen if we're injured. We're increasing our odds of success every time we do even a modicum of foundational strength. So sometimes on a long run, coach, it takes almost 3 miles to settle in and have my heart rate around 140. By then, I've often given up and decided to cut the run short. Any suggestions? I find constantly stopping to walk very frustrating. I completely feel you. I know that it is really difficult to try to do a familiar thing in a body that does not feel familiar with. I mean, for me right now, this thing that has always been so easy doesn't feel easy all of the time. So I want you to know that whatever you feel right now is valid. That frustration is valid. Let's think about what we need to move forward. I hesitate to say, like, in a program like Maintain, where we've got so many elements and so much going on, that I can give you permission to raise the heart rate cap the way I do in Rebuild. So number one, I'd be like, let's just go over to Rebuild. If you take a look, which is not to say this is too much for you, but rather what can we do to manage the mental component of it? If moving to Rebuild is going to destroy you mentally and make you feel like that's a setback, okay, let's not do that. But one option you do have, because you can move back and forth, this is guided DIY. You've got where your subscription is one point of entry that gives you access to 3 programs. You can utilize any of them at any time without needing to ask mine or anyone else's permission. It might be worth considering going to Rebuild and taking a look at week 4 in lane 2 and doing that for a month. I've had people do that before, and that's gotten them mentally and physically where they wanted to be, and then ready to transition over to Maintain. That option is available to you, but it's not one that you have to exercise. The best of all the options I'm about to list right now, the one that is going to work the best and be the most effective long-term is the one that hurts your mind the least. We need to be at least neutral about where your body is right now and the work that you're doing. If you hate it, if you truly don't enjoy it, then you're unlikely to stick with it. So we need to find a way to work with this, but without like letting everything go and doing whatever you feel like doing every day, which burns you out. Another thing I'll give you permission to do, if you're in Maintain, is to pick one day each week, just one. I like Wednesday. But if you want to make it Monday, let's make it Monday. I call it YOLO. YOLO, like the kids say, you only live once. Do whatever it is you want to do. Wear the watch, record the data so you have an idea, but don't look at it while you're out there. Just go do whatever feels good to your body and your mind. Let your soul sing, smile, and run free. But if you start to feel pain in your shins and your booty, if anything starts to hurt, back off. I'm not saying you have to stop to walk, but do back off. Sometimes we like to say that we're pushing through pain in order to not deal with something that's in our head, thoughts that we don't want to think about, or things that we're trying to distract ourselves by totally numbing our minds. I encourage people to not do that. That's kind of the opposite. If destroying your body is the only way to ease your mind, then we need to find some other way for you to maintain longevity, not just in this sport, but in this world. So to that end, you can do Rebuild lane 2, week 4 over and over and over. We can stay and maintain. and make Monday or Wednesday, not both, a YOLO run, because you'll be grateful for the recovery for the rest of the week. Sometimes it can take as long as a week to recover from what we do to ourselves willingly on a YOLO run. As you'll find, it's what you've been doing in the past. You might even be grateful and excited to walk the very next day and for no running whatsoever. Another option is to just jog the warm-up as slowly as you can. This is a challenge that I used to do with my runners at the track. One of our runners, Gerard, is famous for his unwillingness to go fast. He's like, I will not be pushed. I will not be moved. You stay with me and you follow me. And this guy, he can shuffle a 36-minute mile. I've watched him do it more than once for longer than 36 minutes. It's amazing. So we lovingly call it the Gerard Shuffle. How slow can you go? I would say think of it that way when you go out for your warm-up. And even if going a 36-minute mile is shooting your heart rate up to 180, during the warm-up, give yourself permission to not look at that. How slow can I go? Make it ridiculous. Don't worry about what you look like. The only people who look dumb are the ones who are saying mean things to you out there. They're not, you will never look dumb doing like what you're doing. He's my kind of guy, Aaron. I love this guy so much. He's great to run with. He's a really good running buddy and a good friend. So to that end, the Gerard Shuffle, how slow can you go for the warm-up? And then again for the cool down, and give yourself a little bit of room to relax in between. Mentally, you might find that makes things a little bit easier when you have that instruction and a reason. Come back and let us know how slow you actually went, and maybe we can put you in a challenge with someone who is familiar with the Gerard Shuffle. We could take video. We could do a StreamYard together and do a co-live stream of trying to shuffle. We can try to find some way to gamify it and make it interesting, because I get it. It's all been pace for so long that these instincts of decoupling our identity from how fast we're moving, from where we are in the pack, it's going to take a long time to decouple those ideas and be really comfortable with our bodies today and what they're doing. So don't ever forget, whatever you feel, wherever you are, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. These feelings are valid, and we need to think about how to manage them without shame or fear or judging ourselves in any way. Okay, so find the thing that's going to hurt you the least and let me know if either of those suggestions worked. If they did not, I've got a few more, but we're running late here and I got more to do, and it's a gendered holiday for which I agreed to do a fireside chat on a different channel, so I'm going to have to go do that next. And for the 3 miles settling in, again, that's normal. No matter how fit you get, no matter how fast you get, there will always be a settling in period. It's part of getting to know your body. For me, when I was at my fittest and for the longest time, that was just 22 minutes was my number. I knew before a hard workout, I needed minimum 22 minutes of a good shuffle jog warm up to feel loose, prepared, and ready to attack a hard workout. And that number is useful because if ever there was a day I showed up and I was like, man, I just don't feel like this, I don't want to do it, I know that 22 minutes in is highly likely to be a game-changing different story. If I can hang on a day I don't want to be there, if I can just go and get started and hang on for 22 minutes, I will probably be able to do whatever's written on the plan. The hardest part can be on those days getting myself to start. So for you, knowing that, I need 3 miles before I've hit my stride, that's a good thing to know about yourself, even if it doesn't feel like this is very helpful and tells you very much. I promise it's going to be a very meaningful number to you later. Do hold on to that. And final note is, at this time of year, if you're wearing wool, if there's a lot of static electricity, that can mess with both a chest strap and an optical sensor. So pay mind to that. Not saying don't do it, but the colder and drier the atmosphere, the longer it can take for your device to get an accurate read of what your body is doing and have eliminated all of the outliers to arrive at a good number. Have worked through what the white noise is, because that's how these things work. The chest strap is better than generally better and more reliable than the wrist monitor for most body types. So to that end, it is totally normal to not have an accurate read for the first 6 to 10 minutes of any run if you're in a place that's particularly cold, staticky, or dry. Hi, MK. I've been using the Maintain plan relatively consistently since January, I think. I'm also looking at using your Tenacious plan for an early June marathon. Yay for good decisions. I'm also looking at using, I'm looking for suggestions on how to keep my CrossFit type workouts in the plan without burning myself out. I'm planning to run 4 days a week, but love my gym. Am I overreacting or worried about nothing? Any input would be great. I frankly designed Tenacious for you. I really did. I totally understand that there are a million reasons why a person would. I don't personally enjoy lifting heavy things, but I'm a small person and I whine a lot, and CrossFit's not my thing. And neither is powerlifting because it's hard and that stuff hurts. But I also get that this can be super empowering for people. And I would never want you to stop doing that. At the same time, training for a marathon is a lot. It's an abnormal demand and stress that we're putting on the body during the lead up to a marathon training cycle. So in the past, it's been a very binary product. I don't really run, or I run 2 days a week, and now I want to perform at this race, but I'm not changing anything else in my life in order to do it. That's a really tall order. So with what we tried to do with Maintain is give you the ability, if you do the runs, you can do anything you want on top of that. Even if the run that you do is only 20 minutes long in a given day, think of that as like the vegetable you have to eat, then you can do whatever you want afterwards. So I would never want to deny you the thing that makes you stronger, makes you feel empowered. We have a lot of people that are leaving abusive situations, who like, this is just what I do. And it's part of my mental health strategy, knowing that I can, physically take care of myself. I would never deny a person that. Whatever your reason is, you don't have to defend it, not here. And you've picked the right plan because Tenacious was designed to accommodate that. If you have been in Maintain for 2 to 3 months, as we ask you to do before you initiate the Maintain plan, you don't have to give up anything else that you're doing out of that. All that we ask is that you make a real effort to get the run sandwich done and keep that sacrosanct. That's the Friday, Saturday back-to-back run as much as you possibly can, because that's going to go really far for you. We beg you to try to run 5 days a week. I know if you're doing that sandwich, then that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Even if those days all you're doing is 20 minutes, that's better than nothing, because we need the critical adaptations in your feet and your knees and your hips and your tendons and your joints and your ligaments. That is going to make the difference on race day. And those go away really, really quickly. That is why we need to run 5 days a week. So I care less about the duration, but if you could meet me there just for 10 weeks, keep doing what you're doing, try to run 5 days a week. You don't have to do the plan perfectly as prescribed, but if you can give me bare minimum 20 minutes to come up with that 4th day and that 5th day, that's going to increase your chances of marathon success. And it really doesn't matter when your weightlifting sessions specifically are, because Tenacious doesn't have any terribly hard workouts on them. It has challenging workouts that teach you about the distance and the demands of the distance and the things that you could face out there. It gives you sort of like homework and ways to think about it while you're out there, but we're not specifically trying to turn your body upside down or doing anything so difficult and so strenuous that it would not allow you to continue the hard workouts that you were getting, that you're doing in the gym, lifting heavy things, heavier things than I would want to lift. Generally, we have to think in terms of chits. If we're doing this much work each week, only this like sliver of it can be really hard efforts. In Tenacious AF, we don't have any of those hard efforts. So if you want to fill that space with all the strength you want to do, go for it. That's good. But still, stay tuned in Rebuild and do the Rebuild exercises, because all of those Rebuild things are, the exercises in Rebuild are that much more likely to where they are statistically reducing the chances of injury, especially, and you're probably not working those muscles in these any other time in any other place, because they're functional, they're activation, they're not power building, and it's easy to overlook and say, oh no, that's perfectly strong, without targeting or isolating these muscles the way that we do in Rebuild. So that is how I would go about it if I were you. So yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want. That's how we look at it, but that is why 5 days is better than 4. if we can just 20 minutes on at least 2 of those days to get you to 5, we're improving the outcomes and letting you keep all the CrossFit and Orange Theory fitness and lifting that you want to do. So yeah, I don't think you're worried about nothing. I think you're very self-aware and you know what you like and you know what you need to stay motivated and focused moving forward. All I want to do is reconcile that with the demands of the distance so that you show up to the start line feeling strong and confident, and you finish it feeling the same way, having not sacrificed anything that you truly love in the process of preparation for the race, which would then be demanding that it do something that it could never do, which is be worth what you gave up in order to be there. We don't, that's what everybody else does, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's a bad trade-off and a bad way of, it's unfair to you, it's unfair to the distance, and it's unfair to everything around you. You're welcome. Hopefully that was your question, Kimberly, and you're giving me the signal that I can stop talking now. So I never want to offend people, get really mad at me. You don't like lifting. I'm like, I don't, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I also don't like chocolate ice cream. Vanilla's my thing. I'm really boring, I know. So can you help me rearrange the weekly schedule, please? Oh God. Remember, I always recommend making as few changes as possible in order to make life simple. Because less thinking is more better. Pretty much always more thinking does not categorically lead to better outcomes, better logic, or better choices. I'm going to try putting my long run on Wednesday. So Thursday would be a rest day. I'd like Sunday to be my choose your own adventure day. With these 3 days set, how do you recommend I plug in the others? So if your long run is Wednesday, we would want the pre-long run, which is the Friday run, to be Tuesday. We would want Monday to be off, Wednesday to be, we can make Sunday your choose your own adventure. Monday, we just make 30 minutes easy. Friday, we would make it, we would make that your Wednesday run. And then Thursday would be your Tuesday run. Let me know if that works. Off the cuff, not looking at a piece of paper. That's exactly how I would plug and program around. Okay, so those are all the questions. I've got one more thing before I go into filming, and we're going to live stream this as well. The mantra that I have written for tomorrow for a person. It's a mantra for breakups, in case you didn't figure out that earlier. I'm calling this the moment of clarity, and this is sent to me by someone who follows the Facebook page but is not an active participant in our programs. Hi, I'm Kay. I'm on spring break, so I finally get to share this with you. I did not watch all of the ADHD videos that you did several months ago, or read everything that you wrote, because if I'm reading these days, it's usually a textbook. For context, I am not neuronormative. I have ADHD, and I spoke about it in a Facebook challenge several months ago on my personal Mary Catherine Brooks Fleming Facebook page. The videos and the live streams that I did addressing my condition now live on the Coach MK Fleming, hashtag Coached and Loved YouTube channel. There's a playlist for all those videos if you'd like to go watch them a little bit. ADHD is generally not misunderstood, and I have a lot to say about it. So I did not watch all of your videos, but what I did watch and read inspired me. After my surgery, I was diagnosed with ADHD. My support system pushed me to request accommodations for testing, extra time, and a distraction-free space. I hated this idea. If I'm going to be a nurse, I should be able to do everything without any accommodations, in finger quotes, but I eventually requested them after several pushes. I'm thankful I have these, and I know now they will not affect my ability to save lives once I graduate. I'm telling you all this because a few weeks ago, someone in my cohort said that those who utilize accommodations don't belong in the program. If they can't handle the rigor of the program, they shouldn't be in it. Naturally, it was right before a quiz that I heard this. I took that quiz in the accommodation center in a third of the time, a totally emotional reaction to her comment. Thankfully, I did well, but I was so angry that I let that get to me and impact my performance. Your empowering MK voice popped up afterwards. I decided to confront my classmate. Although I wasn't comfortable confronting her face-to-face, I sent her a text that I am incredibly proud of. This is the text. I did not want to make a scene, but I felt really hurt hearing another classmate thinks I and many of our peers should not be in our program because of testing accommodations. Not that I need to, but I would be happy to sit down with you in person and explain accommodations, the purpose they serve, and educate you on why this program allows me to use them. We are supposed to bring each other up, not tear one another down, and make an already extremely difficult program even harder. It's also discrimination, and I would be happy to educate you about that in person sometime as well, if you would like. Wow! I'm not sure what your opinions on accommodations are, Coach MK. I know today they're trying to teach school-age kids coping mechanisms so they won't have to request them. I just needed to share how empowered I felt when I sent that text, and to forward some credit to you, a super powerful and empowering woman who often speaks up about things no one else wants to speak up about. I don't think I could have confronted that issue without your presence in my world. I thank you. And thanks for being my role model. I hope that once I finally get out of school, that I can make as much of an impact on people as you are. That is very kind. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited that you stood up for yourself. I have a lot to say here in response, and I've written out some bullet points. I tend to make more sense when I'm speaking on some emotional topics, when I limit myself to bullet points. So number one, even my closest friends like to remind me that I throw around too much or unnecessary information. Even those who think of themselves as ardent, strident, woman-supporting feminists don't always realize the impact patriarchy has on them, meaning that TMI is a device that's used to shut people up and to stop us from talking about a situation or asking for help. That the thing that we're sharing, in fact, what they're saying is that we're making you uncomfortable. And the proof of that is the fact that when's the last time you heard a man accused of TMIing all over the place, being too emotional or oversharing? Doesn't happen very often. It's a character assassination, basically. It has nothing to do with the things that I'm saying. It's a character assassination that's designed to stop me from saying them, to make me feel shame. What these people, even well-meaning, are attempting to convey is that I've said something or done something which makes them uncomfortable. So they call that thing that hurt them and that makes them feel bad an overshare. I'm not unaware of this. I just don't always call them out on it. I'm not unaware of their discomfort. I just don't care. If something prompted me to speak up, there's a reason. Especially if what I'm saying reduces the stigma and shame that other people are made to feel. You're feeling empowered to speak up for yourself in a way that made you feel safe and comfortable is proof that this type of communication is still, unfortunately, all very necessary. Let me be clear. You owe the world nothing, including education. Live your life. Take your journey step by step, live your truth, and you will inspire other people. Speak when you're ready, not when you are pressured to, or because there's no one else in the room speaking. I didn't really start speaking up, not on this level, until I was 37. That was only 4 years ago. Let's unpack some of the things you said. I care about what you think about your condition more than what other people think, because your perception informs your reality. ADHD has nothing to do with the ability to handle rigor. Throughout my career, I've done intense, time-pressured, detailed stuff. I know that you are capable. You need to know that too, because the day you start trying to prove it, you're going to wreck yourself. It's dangerous. You'll start volunteering for all kinds of things that you don't want to do just to prove that you can handle it, just that you can hack it. That feeling of less than will drive you to do all kinds of things that you have no business doing and things that you do not enjoy. If you start living your life specifically to combat the perception that you don't belong, or treating your ADHD like the bottom half of a fraction that you need to cancel out with action, what you're doing is invalidating your own existence, and you don't really need to do that. That's not how it works. Showing up, doing good work, being a good person, and being self-aware enough to know what will and will not work for you with how your ADHD manifests in your own body. That will get you everywhere in life, not trying to combat all the butt heads that are going to try to keep you back. ADHD is real. It's typically presented in the media as a hyperactive child who doesn't listen and runs around in circles, but that portrayal is reductive, incomplete, and dismissive. It does not represent me. I don't identify with it, and I'm quite sure it does not resonate with you either. Now, that should go without saying. That ADHD is real. That should go without saying. But we live in a world where the wealthy and the privileged have abused our condition as well as our medication, decreasing everyone else's access to the vital support systems that many non-neuronormative individuals, people like us, need in order to function in normative environments. Now, I'm not a nurse, but I'm pretty sure that your day-to-day job, once you become a nurse and get your board certification and your license, will not, in fact, involve daily testing in a normative type environment in which you are taking tests now. You are not going to need special accommodations when you get to the hospital. What you're doing now is creating the awareness that will inform you later in your adult life, saying, this is what I need in order to work well, and the ability to advocate for yourself so that you can get those things. Outside of an education environment, very few of us need accommodations as otherized, as different from the norm, and as extreme, because it does feel extreme, as the separate testing facilities. And the reason that we are trying to teach coping mechanisms to kids earlier is to stop otherizing, punishing, and the backlash against children for using those accommodations, effectively denying them the help and the accommodations that they need. Shame is a terrible thing, and one of the easiest ways to reduce it is to offer these tips more widespread. Now, how that presents in different from environment to environment, it's one thing, but either way, you did not receive this diagnosis till later in life. So you should not deny yourself the accommodations, because those tools that they're trying to teach school kids now take decades to learn, much less implement instinctively and master. And you don't have that much time left in an educational environment. Use the accommodations. You should not be punished for coming to this realization at this point in your existence. There you go. So the accommodations that you're being given are not tantamount to an unfair advantage to normative individuals who are perfectly capable of functioning unassisted in these environments. They think they need accommodations too. They can go ask for them. They can go get tested just like we did. Their reality is not your problem. All you got to take care of is you. You are not at an unfair advantage, and you are not cheating. You're not. But people do use our diagnosis, our facilities, in order to cheat. That does happen, but that doesn't mean that we're cheaters. And you can't run around combating that perception either. You got to be good knowing that you have this and it's legitimate, and keep advocating for yourself the way that you have been. Finally, this is the most important thing, and I really want you to hear this. ADHD, it's not a limiting factor, and it is not your limiting factor. Your beliefs about ADHD, they absolutely are. That will be your limiting factor. If you're not in therapy, get there and take it seriously. Find a therapist that you connect with and use them for more than medication management. It's an opportunity. It's a gift. Look at it that way and use it, because the therapy that you're going to have access to with your student health insurance on campus is some of the best you will ever have. Make use of this time like I did back in grad school. Now, so many people need therapy, but will never have a reason to go, the impetus to start, or the ability to access it. But you are in a very unique, very good position, and you are coached and loved and winning at life. Yay. That's all I have to say about ADHD. I would like to follow up with a reminder that here I'm going to put over here in the comments some accounts that you can follow on Instagram if you would like to broaden your perspective on this gendered holiday that I'm specifically not naming on this broadcast. Accounts to follow: ALOKVMENON. Alok Vemnon. Number 2, The Fat Sex Therapist. These are all Instagram accounts. Mia, MIA Mingus. IHRTERICKA. And NALGONA Positivity Pride. All one word. I'm going to post those over here in the comments. And a reminder, please go watch this Instagram story and think about the impact that, consider the impact that gender has on identity. I know I'm going to be rethinking a whole lot of things in light of the Instagram story that I posted at the beginning of this broadcast, and I hope it gives you something to chew on too. If you feel overlooked, if you feel left out or left behind, let us know how we can best accommodate and serve you. We strive to not intentionally overlook everyone, but we can't know where our blind spots are. You don't know what you don't know until you screw up and someone tells you that, hey, you didn't know this. So here we go. I can handle being called out. If we otherize you in some way, let us know how we could do better. You are coached. You are loved. Go win at the week, especially If you don't have coronavirus, you're not quarantined and you don't have doubles getting ready for 3 days at the fair.